Hello, this is a video tutorial for Unit 4, Activity 1. So this will be our last unit of the semester. There will be 3 activities, so it'll be a little smaller than the other units that we've done. And all 3 activities will involve technical or business writing. So we'll be writing things that might be helpful on a job or in getting a job. Okay, so kind of workplace writing, I guess, is what we'll focus on. And in Activity 1, we're going to specifically look at business letters. And we're going to look at 3 different types of letters that you would have to write in a business setting or when communicating on a job or when communicating to a particular company. And so first off, we're going to look at cover letters, which I'm assuming most of you already have some experience with, and most of you have probably written a cover letter at some point. And a cover letter is a formal letter that accompanies your resume when you're applying for a job. And so what you'll see here is you'll see a run-through of the structure and the different elements of a cover letter. So for example, the audience of a cover letter would be the manager of a business or a company. It would be someone that you're writing to in order to get a job with that company. The purpose, of course, is to introduce yourself to a potential employer and highlight your skills. And the structure looks kind of like this. You've got your name and contact information at the top. You always put the date. You put the person you're writing to, the recipient's address. You have a salutation, like dear so-and-so. You have an opening paragraph where you establish why you're writing the letter. You have usually at least 2 or 3 body paragraphs where you kind of explain and highlight why you deserve the job and what your skills are. And then you have a concluding paragraph where you kind of politely ask the employer to get in touch with you and hopefully give you an interview. And then you have a complimentary closing, and then you state your name and put your signature. So that's your basic structure of a cover letter. As I said, I think most of you have probably done that before. You'll see that the structure of the other types of business letters that we're going to look at are going to be very similar. So this is a pretty standard letter, not just for a standard structure, not just for a cover letter, but for almost any type of business letter. Lastly, in terms of voice, whenever you write a business letter, you want to be formal, polite, and concise. I guess that kind of goes without saying that you want to be polite, especially when you're applying for a job. I think concise is a good word too. You don't want to write really long-winded sentences. You want to have short, direct sentences and make your points clear. Okay. If we go down here, you'll see an example of a cover letter. So if you compare the example here to the structure that was just outlined here, you'll see we've got the person's name and contact information. You've got the date. You've got the person you're writing to's contact information. You've got your little salutation. You've got an introduction paragraph. You've got 2 body paragraphs, and then you've got a concluding paragraph. You have your yours sincerely, and then your signature would go in here. You're going to have to write a letter for me as the assignment in this activity. You don't have to put a signature. I don't expect you to write your signature and then scan the document or anything like that. But you do want to leave a space to show me that you know that a signature goes there, and then you would put your name typed below the signature. That's one type of business letter. A second type of business letter is called an inquiry letter. And an inquiry letter is something you would write to a company or an organization when you're trying to request information. Maybe the most common example that I can think of for someone from St. Mike's would be a student writing a letter to a college asking or requesting information about a program that you're hoping to start in September. So that would be a letter that would fit this. So your audience would be a manager, an admissions officer, a program coordinator, The purpose would be to request specific information or introduce yourself to a potential employee or a potential college administrator that you're trying to get into a particular college or university program. The structure is going to be very similar to what we've already looked at with the cover letter. You, of course, got your name and contact information, the date, the recipient's address. You've got your salutation. You've got your opening paragraph where you establish why you're writing. You've got 2 or 3 body paragraphs where you further explain yourself and specifically identify what information you're looking for. And then you've got a closing paragraph where, I like this here, it says stress action. So what you're doing is you're encouraging the person you're writing to do something, to email you back, to phone you, to get in touch with you so that you can get the information that you're asking for. A lot of times, especially an inquiry letter like this, would be written as an email now. We wouldn't probably drop off a typed out letter at someone's office now. We would probably write something in this style as an email. And we're going to talk more about that at the ending of this activity. In terms of voice, of course, you still want to be formal, polite, and concise, just like you would be if you were writing a cover letter. You've got a sample of an inquiry letter here. So you've got someone writing to Fanshawe College asking for specific information about their broadcast journalism program. And you'll notice that all the parts are still the same in terms of the structure. Okay. Lastly is maybe my favorite type of business letter, or at least it's usually the most entertaining. We have a complaint letter. So it's when you're writing to complain about something. So maybe you've bought a product and that product isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Or maybe you received a product in the mail and it was damaged and you're writing to the company to complain. A complaint letter could be written for all sorts of different reasons, right? But your audience would be a manager of a business or a company or the person in charge of customer relations. You can often find this information on a company's website, right? So again, you're usually writing this to a company complaining about something. Your purpose, of course, is to complain about a faulty product or about poor customer service. The structure, again, is going to be very similar to the other 2 types of letters. You've got your name and contact information, your date, your recipient's address, the salutation, your opening paragraph where, again, it's most important to state why are you writing the letter. You've got 2 or 3 body paragraphs where you're going to further explain the situation and what the problem is. And then you've got a closing paragraph where, again, you're going to stress action. You're going to encourage the person you're writing to do something to fix the problem. Okay? And then, of course, in terms of the voice, you're still going to be formal. You're still going to be polite. But it's a complaint letter, so you might be a little bit firmer and a little tougher than you would be in a cover letter or an inquiry letter. You're not going to be angry, though. If you write something in anger or if you use bad language, the person you're writing to is probably less likely to help you and to sympathize with your problem. So sure, you can be a little firm and kind of show that you're unhappy with the situation, but you don't want to come across as angry or rude. Okay? And then, of course, you've got a third example of a letter here. You've got a complaint letter example. And again, all the parts should look familiar at this point. And in this case, you've got a loyal customer that's writing to a hardware store about a drill that they bought that is unfortunately not working. Last but not least, we have a little section here at the bottom about writing formal emails. Of course, we're teaching letter writing, and it's important to be able to write a quality letter. That's something we teach in all English classes, right? But I think we can all say now that oftentimes we don't write letters, we write emails instead. Now, right? Okay, and a lot of times they're structured and they're written in a very similar way. So what you have here is just some tips on how you can write kind of formal emails and how you can write emails to companies or to colleges or even maybe to your teacher, how you can make your emails more formal and maybe more presentable and look a little bit better. Okay, so this is just a neat little list of tips on formal emails. Okay, so that's the content. And so now if we go on to the assignment section, what you're going to be asked to do is to write a business letter. And so it says, for this assignment, you will write a properly formatted business letter. You may choose to write a cover letter, an inquiry letter, or a complaint letter. It's your choice. Choose one of the three. You don't have to write all three. Choose one. Okay? You can make up the personal information in your letter. For example, you do not need to include your real address and phone number, but take the topic and information in the letter seriously. I mean, some students might not feel comfortable including their real address and information, and that's fine. I'm the only one that will read it, but regardless, you can put in fake contact information if you want. But when you write the actual letter, the paragraphs in the letter, I want you to take it seriously and write a realistic and professional letter. Okay? So for a cover letter, you can consider writing the letter to a real employer that you're interested in. This could be good practice for the next time that you hand in a cover letter and a resume and apply for a job. For an inquiry letter, you can consider writing to a post-secondary program or a specific organization you would like more information on. So if you are thinking of applying to college or university, or if you're thinking of applying to any sort of program, you can write requesting more information. And again, this is something that could have real-world consequences. You could take this letter and you could send it off yourself to St. Clair College or somewhere else. Right? And then lastly, if you choose to write a complaint letter, consider writing to a company in which you recently purchased a product or service from that you are unhappy with. And so again, I find complaint letters the most entertaining usually. So I certainly, I encourage you to write a complaint letter if you want as well. And again, just make sure you take it seriously and write it formally and professionally. I did give you a business letter template, which looks like this. So if you want to use this, you can fill this information in to complete your letter. So this is all the information for your contact information. You can put the date. This is the information for the person you're writing to. And then you can put Dear So-and-so, whoever the name of the person is. Feel free to make up the person's name if you want. And then your body of the letter, you're going to have at least 3 paragraphs, remember, at least 3, probably 4. And it's going to remind you here to keep it single-spaced and to make sure that the only spacing that you have is in between each of the paragraphs. If you want to, you can refer back to the content here, and you can refer back to the samples here, and you'll notice how the paragraphs are written here, and the only spacing is in between the paragraphs. Okay, and then of course you need your sincerely, and then you've got your space for your signature, and then your name. So this is just a little template that you can use to make sure you're writing the proper structure. What else can we say? In terms of the criteria and how you'll be graded, you do need to follow the proper format. So go back and look on the content page and make sure that you're writing the letter properly. Whether you're writing the cover letter, inquiry letter, or complaint letter, you have to follow the proper structure and format. You want to have at least 3 paragraphs. You want to convey information in a way that's concise and direct. So I will be looking at how formal and concise and direct you are in terms of your writing. I don't want long-winded sentences that are very wordy. That's kind of distracting. The whole purpose of a business letter is to get your point across clearly. You want to use a voice that is appropriate for the intended audience and purpose. So again, you want to be polite. You don't want to come across as angry or pushy. You want to check, of course, your spelling and punctuation and grammar. You want to write the letter in your own words. Again, I can't mark something that's been taken from a website or that has previously been submitted to me. It has to be written in your own words. And then it should be, I mean, you've been typing all of your assignments in this course, but particularly when you write a letter, you want to make sure it's typed and not handwritten. Lastly, you've got your rubric down here on how the letter will be graded. And as always, you've got your Dropbox right here. If you have any questions, please let me know.